All right. On that note, we are going to go ahead and call to order at 5:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Mute everyone. The first thing we're going to do is have public comment.
Madam Chair, can we dispense with the attendance roll call by just stating that everyone is present except for Mr. Sean?
Is there any objection? Hearing none. So moved and adopted. Everyone is present except Mr. Shahan. All right, so if you'd like to give public comment, please go to the bottom, click reactions, raise hand, or just click raise hand. A few hands up.
Whole year saw a huge protest.
And please remember to keep yourselves muted. All right, we'll start with Mr. Nathan Madden from Arizona. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Watkins, if you could help me keep time.
Okay. Yes. Hello, Madam Chair. Hello, members of the LNC. I'm just here basically because I've had an outstanding issue that I've brought forward to my region and a couple of the alternates that hasn't been resolved yet. The elected officials page on the LP.org has not been updated. I was previously on there, but was removed at some point, and it hasn't been resolved yet. So just bringing that to the attention of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to jump to non-LNC members first, and we'll go to Mr. Chuck Moulton.
Hello. So very briefly, 2 things. First of all, transparency is very important to the party. And I think it's important that the members be able to see what's going on the public list, and also be able to see live stream meetings. So I would encourage everyone to vote against those things. Secondly, on the matter of Ms. Harlos, I served on the Judicial Committee and wrote the opinion for the Judicial Committee last time the LNC tried to remove her. I do think the LNC has broad discretion on what cause is, but doing her job and supporting the presidential candidate is in no way cause to remove her. The secretary reports to the delegates and does not need to do anything the chair says. Or does not need to do everything the chair says. So I would encourage you not to remove Ms. Harlos. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moulton. Up next, we have Jeremiah Harding.
All right. So I've been watching this kind of thing unfold for a significant period of time, and I think that it's become manifestly obvious that the party itself has a lot of systemic issues with lack of willingness to accept criticism, lack of willingness to understand where people are coming from before shutting them down. And a variety of things have become clear, especially since Karen has been unjustly attacked by a variety of people. And I think those things are very clear at this point when she is basically being ousted for asking bylaws to be followed, holding people publicly accountable on a public business list, and a variety of other things that I could mention. But the most notable thing
Do you want your... you're taking.
Excuse me, guys, make sure you mute yourselves. Go ahead.
But the most notable thing that I could say is that I admire how she's gone against the grain in a variety of ways. I've been watching the business list and taking notes, and transparency is indeed important, especially if there's going to be a party of principle that is allegedly a third option, basically being completely sold out to Trump or RFK Jr. or whoever else can give us that, holy relevance that we so seek. If relevance in a third option is only possible in the prior 2, it's no relevance at all. There is nothing here for any libertarians as long as people are ousted for having that principle that this party claims to stand by. This is a shameful display. I cede whatever time I have left.
Thank you. Can you please tell us what state you're from?
I am from Spokane, Washington. It's awesome up here.
Up next, we have Jeremy Hurdle. Please share what state you're from. We still have you. You might be muted. Okay. We're going to jump to Ms. Mimi Robeson from California.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to actually kind of mimic what Mr. Moulton said. I think that transparency is very important for our party and for the membership. So I do hope that this committee votes down these amendments or these proposals to have lack of transparency. And then second, as far as Ms. Harlos, I was adamantly opposed to her being removed the first time. I'm just as adamantly opposed to her being removed this time. Nobody should be removed for doing their job, even if they can be outside of things, you know, bothersome to people. They shouldn't be removed if they're doing their jobs properly. And Ms. Harlos does an amazing job as secretary. She is constantly working, and she is working for the party, and she's right now working for the transparency to the membership of what's going on. So I strongly hope that this committee does not go down this path. Thank you. I cede my time.
Thank you. Up next, I believe we've got Mr. Ford, Ms. Yanuskavich, Mr. Dar, then the secretary, then Mr. Nana. Mr. Ford, go ahead.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for their generosity. We've raised through Libertarian Mutual Aid. We are closing in on $5,000 in total contributions of cash and materials. The campaign to raise money to support Libertarian Party of Tennessee and now the Libertarian Party of North Carolina will continue probably for a few months. You know, well past when the media has decided they're bored with the headlines, and well past when the government decided they wanted to absolve themselves of their abject failures in the response this go around, as well, just about every go around, will be there and will continue to support them. The effort to rebuild in these areas is going to take years, not days, not weeks, and certainly not the media timeline. So I ask everyone if they, you know, small. We understand that people are under a lot of stress financially everywhere. So small contributions go a long way if they're from a lot of people. So we'd ask you to consider libertarianmutualaid.org, and we've now going to send another couple $1,000s out to Tennessee and North Carolina tonight is when they give us our instructions, and we'll continue the work. So thank you all for your generosity. I cede my time.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Yanuskavich.
Thank you. Financial matters were not noticed for this meeting. Accordingly, I am reading an update from our interim executive director, Hannah Kennedy, regarding fundraising efforts by staff. We have more or less confirmed how much data that was lost in the Razors migration. We pulled FEC data, donor data from the same time period and compared it to our contacts. We took just the over $1,000 donors for the last 4 years. We had 575. FEC had a 1,135. We thought it was around 50 to 60%, and that seems to check out. I'm going to look into how to append FEC data and at least get a price tag on recovering lost contacts. Revenue increasing projects include getting Aristotle data into Zoho. I'm moving that project to the Zoho contractor since I just took it away from our 4th volunteer. We are implementing iWave wealth screening of our 2,500 allotted contacts and building donor profiles. We are implementing project-based fundraising off the backs of committee activity. We are also pulling regional specific lists and asking regional reps to make fundraising calls in their region. We're refocusing our freedom callers with project-based call lists, as well as put them on a schedule for current and expiring lists. Longer-term fundraising projects include the new Archimedes project and an expansion of the Unified Membership Program. Hannah emphasized that she needs everyone to make donor calls, reach out to Angela and Hannah, both to get a list, and a gold star goes to Pat Ford, who already has his list.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yanuskavich.
We have
Up
50
next-
seconds left.
Up next we have our secretary.
I thought Mr. Dar was before me.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Dart, and then we'll move to extend time.
Really quick for time here. I just wanted to invite everyone out on the LNC and everyone listening to call that an election night watch party with Chase Oliver is happening on November 5th and is being hosted by LP Texas. So if anyone is interested in coming out and partying with us all on election night, please go to lptexas.org and get your ticket. It is a ticketed event. Thank you very much. I exceed the rest of my time.
Thank you. I'm going to move to extend time by 8 minutes to accommodate the 4 hands that are up right now. Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none. Okay, hearing none, that passes, and up
Let me
next.
ask you, Madam Chair, have you been removing somebody? He keeps coming back in.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so that person whose name we both see, leave that alone. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Madam Secretary.
Okay, I'm not going to say too much.
Angela.
If you wanted to take care of that, I'll wait. All right, I'm not going to say too much that I'm not going to be able to say during the LNC meeting, but I'd like to draw attention to everyone that I got a very public thank you for doing what I did by our candidates who feel supported, not by the entire LNC, but by what I did. I do believe this is a witch hunt, and I am grateful for the support that I have, and I hope the LNC does the right thing. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just giving notice, though I will have some motions at the beginning. A lot of people know that I am extraordinarily sick right now. I have a fever and I can barely talk, but I am sure that will not make a difference. The lynching will go on.
Sorry, up next, I believe we have Mr. Dustin Nana.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We heard some of the stuff that was being worked on by staff earlier. I just wanted to get in line to say, I don't know if any of them are on this call, but thank you to staff as always. They don't get shouted out as frequently as they should, so we appreciate all your hard work. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Nana. Up next, we have Abra Green.
Hi, it's actually Austin and Abra. I'm with her. Hey, Angela. Aloha, everybody. I just wanted to say just one thing about this, because my board has dealt with removals and difficulties and drama and all of that. I like Karen Ann a lot. I think she's awesome. I love her firecracker whole thing. I like her a lot. That said, my opinion on this is that it has to be a business decision. This can't just be about her opinions or about how she's feeling about the board or being angry about it. You know, if her points are meritorious, or even if there's some disagreement on that, if it's something relatively neutral and it's really about her dissent, I would just say, please be careful, because we don't want to lynch anybody for anything that isn't a cold hard business decision. But if there's good reason for that, I don't know all the facts, so my mind is open. I just want to make sure that we really keep it black and white and keep the emotionalism out of it. That said, I will direct a piece of criticism to the other side, warning to my side, criticism to the other, I would say, is we need to save our damn ammo for the state. The libertarians who have their guns fixated on other libertarians are idiots. I yield.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Mr. Adrian Malagon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thank the last speaker for their comments. At the risk of giving Mr. Ford a big head here, Rhode Island is barely a state. I will say I thank him a lot for his mutual aid efforts. I think that a lot of people in California are very enthusiastic and have seen his efforts, and I would just like to commend him on everything that he does. I would encourage everyone, to donate to Mr. Ford's cause. He does a lot of good work, and this is exactly what we preach, right? Mutual aid, helping each other in time of need without state interference. And I really do thank Mr. Ford for all of his hard work and everything that he's done and the promotion that he does. And I really encourage everyone to donate to Mr. Ford's cause. He does amazing work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malagon. Okay, we're going to our first agenda item and need to put the agenda up.
I hold on one second. Well, the first agenda item, this is just going to be really difficult for me to do right now.
I can do the screen share.
If you would, that would be appreciated.
Yep.
Because I do have a motion to make.
Yep, no problem. All right, here is our agenda.
I could also hold on, let me stick in chat the link to the live notes. What happened to chat? You know, Zoom with multiple screens is just terrible. Live chat is tinyurl.com/LNC live notes, and anyone can follow along with what I'm typing.
Okay, we're gonna pass this to Mr. McGee.
Well, I said I had a motion, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay, I'm allowed to give a few prefatory so it's to the extent
I
it
have
doesn't.
a quick point of order, Madam Chair. Is this this is a special meeting? Is this allowed? We have an agenda set.
Is it a privileged motion?
Yeah, it's the type of motion that's allowed at a special meeting, which of course will be for you to decide. You'd have to hear it first, but it's not new business or anything like that.
Okay.
And I was going to say, I'm going to give some prefatory notes and then see if it's seconded and if it's not. The prefatory notes are: an hour ago, we received a 31-page report. I think I'm allowed to say the number of pages. There is no way that can be reviewed in an hour. So with that said, and if I get a second, I'll then debate. I move that we have discussion, at least initial discussion this evening on the report, and finish discussing and then voting on the report at next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern to give time for me to properly digest and have responses.
I'll second that.
Mr. Malagon, see your hands up.
I get to speak to my motion
Thank you,
now that I have a second.
Well, just
did
really
you have
quickly before.
Mr. Malagon, were you objecting, or did you have a point of?
I do have an objection. I do have an objection as far as the time frame. This was sent at 11:41 Pacific time. That was not an hour ago. That was at least just over 2 hours ago, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
I apologize.
So I just want to make it very clear that it was 11:41 Pacific time that was sent out.
Okay.
Okay, a few hours ago of a very detailed report.
And I'll just add really quickly that in executive session, the plan is to read the report in full, as the LNC was fully aware. In the event that members were not able to read the report in full, we would read it in full and discuss it in full. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think I get to speak to my.
Go ahead, Ms. Horowitz.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to duplicate a template first. Yes, I apologize to Mr. Malagon if I had the time wrong. For me, it was an hour because there was a judicial committee hearing. That's not Mr. Malagon's fault, but there were a lot of LNC members at a judicial committee hearing. Also, I can barely think about what I did 5 minutes ago. I cannot digest and adequately, if everyone wants to be fair, and look for contrary evidence, because from the bit I was able to skim, there was things that were incorrect in the state that I'm in. So I think the LNC keeps saying how it wishes to be fair. To have a report, 3 hours or whatever it is, that is so long and so serious prior to a meeting, when the subject of said report is to the point where I am concerned if I'm going to need to be hospitalized. Because I've had walking pneumonia before. It's not an unreasonable request to give us a week to digest it. I understand the concern perhaps might be that someone is going to leak the report. No one's been leaky this term. I'm certainly not going to. Anything I want in public, I'll make an appropriate motion and win or lose it. But it is certainly not anyone's fault that I have a severe case of the flu. But it is, in fact, the reality, and I think it's fair to everyone to have enough time to be able to read and digest. And I'm not claiming not to start talking about it tonight. We can start to the best of our ability, but to give everyone time to digest the information and to be able to vote on it next week.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Malagon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like everyone to know that the Secretary did a over 2 hour live stream yesterday, which she seemed absolutely fine. And I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I don't mean to air this publicly, but I will just point out that Madam Chair herself has run meetings shortly after having a bleeding ulcer and 5 days after childbirth, if memory serves. Not to air your medical issues publicly, but I just want to point out that I don't understand how the Secretary's point has any bearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nikela?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm fine with discussing it tonight and moving any type of vote down the road if that's more prudent. I think in either case, the report stands on its own merit, and whether or not we move on it today or next week, I don't think it'll make much of a difference. So I'll support it if that's the case. If not, then we move forward tonight.
Thank you. Madam Secretary?
I was quite obviously not fine in my stream last night. Anyone can watch it. And immediately afterwards, in fact, I was going to, I could stick a link. Wayne was so concerned that after that stream that I overextended myself, that I was shivering, and he thought he was going to have to take me last night to the hospital. I was not fine. Some people might be of stronger constitution than me and be able to have a baby. I applaud that and have a meeting. But they also weren't asked to deal with such a serious matter at that time. If we are going to have a fair discussion, I would hope you would want the subject of that discussion, considering that I was never interviewed on some of the things that are alleged in that report. So it was things I was interviewed on. I'm not in my right mind, but at least I'm aware of. But the new stuff, completely unaware of. And if we're talking about fairness, which is going to probably be a continuing issue, and I don't think proper notice was given. I could drop out of this meeting right now and break notice, and anything that was voted on, I believe very arguably would be invalid, because the notice just said to hear it, not to vote on it. But I am choosing not to be the kind of person who just drops out of the meeting to break full attendance. But if I do, then everything is subject, because I counted on this body, though I might have to just drop out if things continue the way they're going, not with you guys, but with my own health. So that's my second time speaking, so that will be the last time I'm speaking on it. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. It would not change the date if they were adopted of the alleged trial, because it was already for a weekend after. If I am correct in reading the end of it, it wouldn't change anything about the resolutions. In fact, it would disadvantage me, because it would give me less time to prepare. So there's no ultimate difference other than having somebody who is more capable of being able to speak. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Malagon and then Mr. Nana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would very much encourage members of not just the LNC, but anyone on this call to go back and watch the live stream as the Secretary recommended, so you can see the parallels between her dynamic yesterday afternoon and today, less than 24 hours. Wildly different. And we're getting into dangerous territory here as far as things that haven't happened yet. We're getting into what I would consider trial territory. We haven't even gotten there yet. And I would ask a seated member of the LNC to call the question.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Nana.
I might call the question, but I have a parliamentary inquiry first. I'm a bit confused on what the substance of the secretary's motion is. I guess I've just never encountered this situation. What is trying to be done here?
Madam Secretary, can you restate your motion, please?
My motion was that we could hear and begin discussing to the extent that I am able to, because I may lose my voice, which has gotten worse since yesterday. That's the way flus go. So my motion was that we would start to at least hear it this evening and then have another special LNC meeting specifically just for the purpose, with proper notice, so that there's no question about notice, because there is right now, to hear further, because people will have had time to consider, and to vote.
Okay, Mr. Nana, does that answer your question?
Maybe. I mean, I just don't know.
So here's,
how this is. I mean, I guess I'm going to ask you for a ruling, because I don't understand what we're doing, or if this is in order, or how this is going to work. Because from what I understand, there may be no action taken today. We don't know yet. Are we forbidding a possible future action until this?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have answered over you, but let me just let you know my intent, Madam Chair.
Sure.
It is forbidding any vote on this report this evening, but it's not forbidding any future vote at all. In fact, it's intended that next Sunday there would be a vote.
Unless Mr. Watkins has a problem with it. Well, now I see Mr. Dazzing's hand too. Then I would call the question.
Okay.
Mr. Malagon already called the question.
No, he's an alternate. He asked if someone would call the question.
Apologies.
Okay, the question's been called. Mr. Dassing, if you want to object, go ahead. But nope, I see a hand down. Okay. Any objection to calling a question? Okay, so we're going to go to a vote. Let me read this and explain my understanding of it so that we all know what we're voting on and what we're on the same page. Our secretary, Ms. Harless, moved to hear the first agenda item, begin discussion of it, and then not vote on it. So let me type this up properly. Move to hear and begin discussing the first agenda item and continue discussion in a later LNC meeting. Where a vote could happen if the LNC chose to vote on this agenda item. but the LNC shall not vote on the recommendations of the IC report tonight. Madam Secretary, did I do that justice?
Yeah, I mean, we all word it a little awkwardly, but yes, you
Yeah,
absolutely did.
A little awkward. Okay, I'm just gonna drop this in the chat, which, much to everyone's dissatisfaction, I have not been watching, and I will continue to not watch it. But there it is. So that's what we're voting on. So we can talk about things in the report tonight, but we wouldn't be voting on any recommendations. Okay, so now we're gonna go to a roll call vote. Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hold on, I was just duplicating a template. Mr. Bost,
Yes.
Mr. Dar,
Yes.
Mr. Dassing,
No.
Mr. Ford,
Forgive me, I'm reading in the chat, so I'm just absorbing this all, so I'm going to temporarily pass.
okay, Mr. Garcia,
No.
Mr. Heyman.
No.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes.
No.
I'm somehow off kilter here. Mr. McGee,
Nay.
Mr. Nana,
Pass.
Mr. Nikela,
Yes.
Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mr. Benson,
No.
Miss Watkins. Pardon me, Mr. Watkins,
No.
Ms. Yanuskavich,
No.
Mr. Ford passed,
I'm voting no.
Mr. Nana,
What is the vote total, please, Madam Secretary?
it's 6 yes, 9 no.
My vote will not be needed. I'll abstain.
Okay, that does not pass. Well, Madam Chair would ultimately decide that.
I am not voting and the motion does not pass. All right. We are going to jump back to Mr. McGee. Moment. Here's where we're at. Notice to hear investigatory committee report with recommendation of charges. McGee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I move this motion, I would like to report that the IC committee met earlier today to adopt the IC report, and that there were some concerns that have been raised. And so if without objection, I would like to allow the chair of the IC committee, Mr. Malagon, address those briefly.
Is that all right, Madam Chair?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. McGee. So really quickly, this morning, we did have an open session vote on adopting specifications and charges, resolutions of the report as a whole. I would just like to clear some things up for people that are unaware of how our bylaws work or certain aspects. Also, I was only 1 cup of coffee in that morning and I had not had anything to drink. That does affect me when I don't have anything to drink. So I will just state really quickly that discussion already happened in executive session through various meetings. I believe there were 8 total for the investigatory committee, and all discussion had already taken place in executive session, which is why there was no discussion for any of the motions. And second, I did read off the vote totals after every charge and specification, also the resolution and the report adoption. So while I did not vote formally, that was just a lapse of me only being on my first cup of coffee, I did vote aye for everything, all charges, all specifications, the adoptions of the resolutions, and the report adoption. Just want to make that clear for everybody that was unaware. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to raise a point of order.
Please go ahead.
Okay, my point of order is that our policy manual requires the steps in a fair disciplinary process, and something I said before was either understood or misquoted in the report. Misquoted is not the right word. I'm sorry, I'm going to be using some wrong words. This has not been. Some of the persons pointed to this committee have already had a history of being personally abusive, and there are certain requirements for members of confidential investigation by committee. I wouldn't mind detailing out all of those issues if the chair wishes, but I believe the only two people who meet those qualifications are Mr. Nikela and Mr. Nana. And I believe that my rights are ready to a fair disciplinary process, which was voided already once at a convention, have been violated.
Your point is not well taken. Impartiality is up to the majority, and the majority of the LNC has already voted on the makeup and all the members of the investigative committee. And this was raised at the LNC meeting in Miami already, and we already addressed it there as well. But thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I will not be appealing. However, I am raising another point of order, which I'm sure will be not well taken, but I am preserving my record. Even prior to that time, rights were violated, and that the way this motion to even appoint the investigatory committee was done. And the reason Roberts recommends it being done and the way it does is to avoid potential libel. And it did not. It's supposed to be discussed and fleshed out when there are no non-members present. Non-members meaning non-members of the assembly considering it. There were multiple non-members present, and this was made public. And I've already suffered personal, professional harm due to that. And so this was at an official meeting. People say all kinds of stuff about people at non-official meetings, but this was flawed from the very beginning, and I believe it needs to start over.
Your point of order is not well taken. Our bylaws specify that all votes have to be taken in public. We can't do them in an executive session. And that includes the name of the motion we're making. It's got to be stated in public.
And I am going to appeal from that ruling because that is not correct.
It's bylaw 7.15.
I'm aware of the bylaws. If anyone is interested in hearing what the argument is against that, because I agree partially with that.
Your appeal needs a second.
Yeah, that's what I was asking for, a second, just so I can explain.
I'll second.
Thank you. We oftentimes discuss sensitive matters in executive session. And when we come out, we make a somewhat vague motion, such as approve the contract of, if there was like 5 applicants and they haven't been notified, of such and such applicant of their hiring under the terms discussed in executive session. That has been done for decades on the LNC. That is the way this motion should have been handled. No one should have been named. No posts about it should have been made on the public list, as had been done. This is supposed to be done with the utmost of discretion. So while I agree the ultimate motion, which everyone on the assembly would have been aware of, would have had to have been done public. The details until the time after the investigatory committee should have been in confidence, and my rights were violated.
Mr. Watkins?
I'm calling the question.
Thank you. Any objection to calling the question? Okay. We're going to vote on the ruling of the chair. So I've ruled her point of order as not well taken. Shall the ruling of the chair be upheld? Do you want to uphold my reading? We're going to do a voice vote. All in favor of upholding my ruling? Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Any other opposed? Okay. All right. Hearing none, my ruling is upheld. We're going to move along. Back to Mr. McGee.
Thank you. I think without further ado, I'm going to move that we hear investigatory committee report with recommendations of charges.
May I ask that our attorney is in until he can no longer be in?
I would object to that. I believe I would object to that because I believe that I am still an LNC member, and the LNC attorney represents the entire LNC and has placed himself in an adversarial relationship to a member of the
Point of
LNC.
order, Madam Chair. Mr. Watkins actually had his hand up before the secretary started speaking.
But it's a point of order. I said it as objection.
Okay, go ahead, and then we'll jump to Mr. Watkins.
Thank you. I believe at this point, the only responsible move of the LNC is to appoint a separate counsel for myself or for the rest of the LNC, that there's too much of divided interests. I would not mind it if no attorney was present, but to have an attorney, and being careful as to what I could say, but members know what I'm referring to, I believe has advised the violation of my rights, should not be present in any executive session.
You do have an attorney.
Not for this, I do not.
Mr. Watkins?
I move to refer the motion to a select committee consisting of Angela McCardle, Mark Rutherford, Bill Redpath, Andrew Watkins, Travis Bost, Stephen Nikela, Robert Vincent, Kathy Yanuskavich, Adam Heyman, Ramon Garcia, Andrew Chatterton, Nick Shawn, Jonathan McGee, Matt Johnson, Dustin Anna, Greg Hirsch, Paul Darr, Keith Thompson, Meredith Hayes, Adrian Malagon, Otto Dassing, Paul Bracco, Pat Ford, and Ben Weir. And I would also like to, and that the committee be instructed to meet in executive session, and that Mr. Jonathan Jacobs may be called to join as needed.
So basically, you're making accusations against me and do not want me to be present. That's a really good look.
Mr. Nana?
If I'm understanding the effect of the emotion correct, I can't support that. I mean, we at least have to have the accused in the executive session where we are discussing the accusations. I think we open ourselves up to real issues if we do not. You know, whether or not you want Miss Harlos there and think it might take longer if she is, I think has a right to at least hear what she's being accused of beyond just the interview that was held with her with the IC. So I can't support this one.
All right, I'm going to ask that we hear from a couple of people before anybody calls the question. Ultimately, that's up to you guys. Mr. Malagon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll remind Mr. Nana and the rest of my LNC colleagues that Ms. Harlos is suing the LNC on the advice of counsel. She should not be in executive session. And I would ask Mr. Watkins that he include Mr. Hall as LNC counsel to help navigate us through these waters. I will remind everyone again that this is the hearing of a report, so we can discuss it and move forward with what would potentially be a trial should the LNC agree. And that's when Ms. Harlows has the right to defend herself in whatever capacity she sees fit. This is again on the advice of counsel. I will remind the entire LNC that Ms. Harlows is suing us. She has retained her own counsel, and that no one, and I will remind everyone on the LNC again that Ms. Harlows was adamantly opposed to Ms. Vest being in any executive session, and that she refused to participate in executive session if Ms. Vest ever joined us during the last term when she was suing the LNC. I yield my time.
Thank you. Madam Secretary?
You know, people are allowed to be inconsistent or change their mind, but this is not similar at all. If you guys were discussing specifically my suit, I still think I'd have a right to be there, but I wouldn't. I just wouldn't go. This is discussing an investigatory report allegedly about me, in which the suit isn't part of the charges. The suit has nothing to do, the suit's nowhere mentioned in it. So that's not relevant. This is just starting to turn into exactly the railroad job that people had suspected, where you're trying to make a committee where the person who can answer to the truth or falsity, and there is falsity in that report, can be there to say so. If this is the type of appearance this LNC wants to make, it can make that appearance. I think they're gonna, this is not the Libertarian Party that most people joined to act this way.
Mr. Nana?
Yes, Miss Harlows kind of got to the point I was going to make. While I cannot speak to what is in the report, I can say that there is no mention of a lawsuit against the LNC by Miss Harlows in the report, so I don't know that she should be excluded from all executive sessions, but I certainly understand the reasoning why somebody might want to, but I cannot support this as the motion was made.
Thank you, Mr. Nana. Mr. Watkins?
Yes, I would amend my motion to also add Mr. Oliver Hall to allow him to join executive session as called upon. And I would also like to point out that whether or not the the suit is mentioned in the report or not, I think that's irrelevant because the member in question is suing us. I mean, I don't think it's relevant to the report. She's suing us, and I don't feel comfortable having her in executive session with us, especially if there are any legal liabilities that may be discussed.
Thank you. Mr. Malagon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To reiterate Mr. Watkins' point and address Mr. Nana's concerns, I will again reiterate that LNC counsel advised against Ms. Harlows being in any executive session. I'm not saying that the report has anything to do with her lawsuit. We have an LNC member who is suing us, and he was very, very clear over my various conversations with him that lasted.
Are you revealing advice of counsel in public?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I'm speaking.
I think this is confidential information.
I'm sorry.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
I'm speaking.
You did not start with a point of order.
I am now. I apologize.
I'm speaking.
Point of
Okay,
order.
guys, I need you to settle down.
Advice of counsel is confidential.
That is not a point of order.
Yes, it is. It's an executive session issue, advice of counsel.
That is not a point of order. Your point is not well taken. Mr.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, I will reiterate to my colleagues on the LNC that LNC counsel has advised against any Ms. Harlows joining any executive session or any special sort of privileges that would be entitled to a member who is suing us, as was the advice in the past for a similar circumstance. And I yield the rest of my time.
I had my hand up for something separate for this motion, Madam Chair. I think it was inadvertently lowered. This is an entirely, again, different situation. I have, in the steps to a fair disciplinary process, a right to speak. And as I said, there are items in the report that I was never interviewed on. And in the steps in a fair disciplinary process, it says that the society, I'm sorry, I can't find it. It does say that, oh, here it is. Before any action is taken, fairness demands that the committee or some of its members, and it could have been the IC, but it could be also the entire LNC, or some of, but they didn't get to, the report doesn't contain everything I said. Make a reasonable attempt to meet with the accused for a frank discussion and to hear his side of the story. There are multiple things in there in which my side of the story was in fact not heard, and things in which, in that report, there are some things stated that at least one member believes they might have been mistaken on. It's another LNC member that I discussed the report with, not anyone outside the LNC. And there's a right to make that correction as well. This is an absolute abomination. None of this has anything to do with the suit. And in fact, if I'm going to say anything about the suit, it would look even worse. And anything in executive session, I am obligated not to say. I have never broken my NDA. I have never leaked anything. Anything said in executive session will stay in executive session. There might be some things during executive session that I would object to it being there, but it would be the decision of the body. I would also say, since Mr. Malagon has said that this might be the subject of a suit, then the issue or be part of it.
I object, Madam Chair. I never said that. That is not what I said.
Okay, let me finish. I'll word it differently, since the suggestion was made because there was a suit and that there might be information in there that would be that
Madam Chair, I object to that. I did not say that,
That's
Madam
the
Chair.
only reason to keep me.
I did not say that, Madam Chair.
Let me just get to the point without the rationale. I think everyone understands the rationale. Despite policy manuals or whatever there might be, there is in fact a legal hold not to spoliate evidence. And there would need to be a recording of this meeting, and there could be a court order to release it. I'm sorry, that is in fact the case. That goes beyond.
Let me clarify. You're talking about taking executive session comments and taking it to your attorney?
No, I would not do. I would only do that under the terms under the NDA. If I wanted to, and I'm not even saying I would want to. There are terms under the NDA in which items that were done in confidentiality can be disclosed to people who have the same level of confidentiality or higher, or a court order, provided that the person notifies the LNC of that, and that the LNC has the opportunity, enough time, to make a motion for a protective order. Nobody can just willy-nilly disclose things. There has to be the opportunity for the LNC to seek a protective order. But I am saying this is not recorded. It is spoliation of potential evidence, particularly if I'm not there, since there wouldn't be any ear witness testimony that there could be a motion for protective order for.
Okay, I think I understand very well now the advice of counsel and why he has advised. We're going to go to Mr. Watkins. And Mr. Watkins?
I would just like to again point out that this is not a trial, and I'm calling the question.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
I have a point of inquiry, and it's very fast. And I'm not saying this because I want to kill it or anything, but did Mr. Watkins' amendment get a second? And then would Mr. Watkins, did he mean to say call all questions? Because then that would take us out of this completely.
I thought somebody seconded it, but I could be mistaken. Who seconded it?
I thought I heard a second. And it's against my best interest to say that, but I thought I heard a second.
I will second now that I've actually heard the secretary's explanation. She's talked me into supporting this motion, so.
Okay. All right. It is, for the record, it did have a second. And Mr. Watkins, when you called out question, what were you calling? Question on what?
My motion.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm asking for a point of personal privilege.
Mm-hmm.
I am putting the LNC then on notice that in the same time frame, well, actually, I'll state the time frame, 7 days before a responsive pleading is due to my complaint. I do intend upon giving the investigatory report, which I did not intend to before, but since you are excluding me from defending myself, to council, which gives the LNC time to file a motion for protective order. I will also say that I intend to, I'm not going to say it's going to be within a week, but at some point, prepare a written response. This is completely outrageous. Nothing.
Okay. Point. I've heard your point of personal privilege.
Yeah, it's on the record. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any objections to Mr. Watkins calling the question? Hearing no objections, the question is called.
Madam Chair.
Is this a point of?
It kind of is, because there was a misrepresentation earlier, and I think you would want the record. It's a point of personal privilege to correct a thing. I personally am not suing the LNC. That is not what a derivative action is. I stand. Okay, I'm just saying I'm not. The LNC is suing the LNC.
It's not a point. It's not a point of personal.
I am not personally suing the LNC.
It's not a point of personal privilege.
It's on the record now. People know I am not personally suing the LNC.
No more points of personal privilege characterizing legal issues. No more. No more. Okay, we're going to go to a vote on Mr. Watkins' motion. Mr. Watkins, can you please restate your motion or summarize it for us, because it's been a little bit of time?
Correct. This would move to appoint a committee of the most, consisting of the LNC minus our secretary, and then we would then hear the report in executive session as that committee, and then that committee could call in Mr. Jonathan Jacobs and Mr. Oliver Hall as needed.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All right, we're going to go ahead and Mr. Nana, we can do points of personal privilege, but we're out.
I have a point of order.
I think it's a point of order. I want us to make sure we do this correctly. I believe it was an original motion and then an amendment submitted. So that's why I asked if he was calling all questions.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a different point of order.
Okay. Well, Mr. Watkins, can we clarify that this is technically an amendment?
Yes, I suppose so.
Okay. Madam Secretary?
My point of order is that since this is a matter that has not yet come before the Assembly, this is a main motion for which there has been no notice given that you cannot do this meeting, because it's a special meeting and there is insufficient notice.
No notice given for what?
For appointing a subcommittee to hear it. The notice was given for the LNC to hear it. I'm also going to object on the record that because of past representation of me in Colorado, Mr. Jacobs is hopelessly conflicted out. That is something, he will need to, think about himself, but that could be a further issue. But this is an original main motion at this point. And there was no notice given for it.
Your point of order is not well taken. It is a subsidiary motion, clearly. He said it was an amendment. It is related to the main motion. And Mr. Jacobs is not conflicted out. He has been retained to provide parliamentary services in a limited scope.
Madam Chair, point of order. The question has been called.
Thank you. All right, we're going to jump to a vote on Mr. Watkins' amendment. Madam Secretary, do you want me to do the vote?
I didn't. I'm sorry. Is the so you're okay? I'm going to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Okay.
Because things are really, and I might withdraw my appeal if during debate, if there's a second of appeal of the ruling of the chair, the parliamentary situation gets straightened out, because I am super confused as to where we're at.
Okay, we're on Mr. Watkins' amendment.
What is the amendment, and what is it amending?
Mr. McGee, what was your main motion?
To hear the investigatory committee report with recommendations of charges.
Okay. Mr. Watkins amended that to make it so that a committee of the most and Oliver Hall and Jonathan Jacobs would go into executive session to hear the reported charges.
I'm not so sure. Okay, I'm appealing the ruling of the chair. If there's a second, I'll explain why now that I know what the amendments are.
I don't hear a second. I'm going to say it dies for lack of second.
So the motion is the committee excluding everybody but the accused.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The most anti-libertarian motion I've ever heard in my life.
Madam Chair, could we not have editorializing during votes?
Okay, guys.
Mr. Boss.
Guys, please. We just need to get through this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Dar.
Abstain.
Mr. Dassin.
Pass.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Mr. Heyman.
Yes. Sorry, yes.
I will vote no. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Nana.
No.
Mr. Nikela.
Abstain.
Mr. Redpath.
No.
Mr. Rutherford.
No.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 9-4 to 2.
Okay,
Point of order, Madam Chair, Mr. Dassing didn't vote. He passed.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. We had.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Mr.
vote
Dassing.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so 10-4-2, chair's not voting. The motion passes. The amendment passes. All right, we're going to go to a vote on the main motion now to hear the, Mr. McGee, sorry. Back, what's our main motion now as adopted?
Well, it would be for everyone but the accused to hear accusations against the accused, I think is basically what it is. But again,
Objection, Madam Chair, that is not how we should characterize the motion.
Please word it the way you'd wish for the record.
That's why I asked Mr. McGee.
Okay, yeah, Mr. McGee then.
Mr. McGee.
All right. So as amended, it would be to to hear the investigatory committee report with recommendations of charges in the committee of the most as characterized by Mr. Watkins.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna ask, and I already know the answer, but that's okay, because I'll still ask. Any objections?
Well, I know I'm going to object.
Yes. That's
quite-
okay.
Quite obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
I once again request that the meeting, which obviously you guys are going to do, be recorded and kept in possession of council of Mr. Hall or whoever else the chair chooses. And I'll go in the waiting room during, well, somebody will have to handle, I guess you put everybody in the waiting room or however it might be handled. But I'm requesting that the evidence be preserved.
Any further discussion before we go to a vote? Okay, do we need to do a roll call vote on this?
Well, so far, I'm a no. I don't know if there's other no's.
Okay, we're gonna do a voice vote. All in favor of going into executive session per Mr. McGee's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Is that 4 no's? Our secretary, Mr. Dar and Mr. Redpath?
And
Mr.
Mr.
Rutherford.
Rutherford. And
I also
Mr.
voted no.
And Mr. No.
5 no's? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The motion passes by a voice vote. All right, we are going to go into executive session. It's gonna take us a little bit of time to get in there, but we will. Resume recording. Is this thing still confidential?
The report until it's adopted, Madam Chair, is correct.
Okay,
So just the only things that are as of now public, because it was the votes were taken in open session by the IC per bylaw 7, section 15, article 7, section 15, are the charges and specifications.
and those are public at this point.
Correct. And then the resolutions and then the report adoption,
Okay.
not the report itself. So everything from page, so if you're looking at the underlined section charges and specifications from page 28 now.
Got it. Okay. Our secretary is not here, so I'm gonna do a screen share. Mr. Malagon, do you mind recording votes for me as temporary secretary? And then I'll run the thing.
Not at all, Madam Chair. Give me
Thank
one.
you. Okay. All right, our first motion is gonna be resolved that when the meeting adjourns, it adjourns to Saturday, November 9th, 2024 at 1 p.m. Eastern to be held virtually. I'm moving it, but it needs a second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Nana?
I would like to amend that to 5 p.m. on the same day.
Okay, any objections? And everybody else, make sure you're muted. Any objections to moving it to 5 p.m.? Okay, hearing none, it's moved to 5 p.m.
Madam Chair, would you like me to take the roll as well?
Yeah, we'll do a roll call vote. We're not gonna have discussion on any of these, so we're just gonna go straight to a vote on this top line. When the meeting adjourns, it adjourns to Saturday.
Okay, I'm going to do it in order on the LNC website, which is not alphabetical order, so apologies. Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
I'm going to vote no, but I want to explain my vote. It's only because that is an extremely inconvenient date for me. That is the reason for my no vote.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Watkins?
Sorry, the mute button wasn't working. Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Miss Yanuskavich?
If we don't hear from her, Ms. Yanuskavich, I think you might be muted, and if you're not, we'll come back to her.
We'll skip Miss Yanuskavich for now. We'll go Mr. Heyman.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
This will be easier once I type everyone out. Mr. Dar?
No, I'm in a meeting at the same time with another state.
Miss Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing? Not hearing from Mr. Dassing. We'll move on to Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll go back to Miss Yanuskavich. Mr. Dassing?
I vote yes. I also see that Ms. Yanuskavich left the meeting.
She just rejoined.
Oh, okay, good.
Miss Yanuskavich, we are voting on adjourning the meeting to resume on November 9th. Is that right? November 9th at 5 p.m. EDT.
Yep.
Miss
Okay.
Yanuskavich, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, so Madam Chair, the vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did we grab Mr. Dassing's vote? He's back.
11, 12, 13. Yes.
yes.
It's 13 to 2 to 0 to 1.
All right, thank you. The next motion we're going is charge 1, specification 2. I'm intentionally skipping specification 1. If you guys choose to revisit it, you can move that at some point during this meeting.
Madam Chair, do you wish to vote on the previous motion or do you wish to abstain?
No, chair's not voting, motion passes.
Okay.
Specification 2, and that Ms. Karen Ann Harless failed to follow the legitimate instructions of the Libertarian National Committee Chair by filing paperwork regarding the presidential candidate exclusive of the electors with the Colorado Secretary of State, LP Bylaws, Article 6.5.
And that's charge 1, specification 2 to be?
Correct. This does not include specification 1.
Okay.
It needs a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McGee. There's no discussion on this motion. It was done in executive session. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Mr. Rudpath?
Abstain.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Abstain.
I'm sorry, was that abstain?
It was.
Mr. Dar?
Abstain.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
The vote is 11 to 0 to 3. How do you wish to vote, Madam Chair?
Chair's not voting, the motion passes.
I'm sorry, it was 11 to 0 to 3 to 1. Okay. All right, that's good.
Okay. We're gonna move to adopt charge 1, gross misconduct in office.
Does that need a second?
Yep.
Second.
Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Russ,
I'm sorry, are we voting on specification 1 or charge 1?
it's charge 1 as a whole now. we skipped over specification 1. We just went to charge 1 specification 2. Now it's charge 1 as a whole.
All right.
Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Mr. Redpath?
Abstain.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
No.
Mr. Dar?
No.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is it is 10 to 2 to 2.
Okay, the motion passes. Chair's not voting.
Okay.
Okay, on the next one, under charge 2, I'm going to move that we adopt specifications 1, 2, and 3.
I don't think we can. We can't do them.
If we could ask the parliamentarian if we could do that. This is a point of order.
Point of order, let me ask him.
You can with unanimous consent. Any member may demand a vote on a separate one.
All right, then we'll do them one by one. Moved that we adopt specification 1 of charge 2.
Second.
Okay,
All right. So, oh, sorry. Give me just a second. Mr. Rutherford? How do you vote on charge 2, specification 1?
I vote no.
Mr. Redpath?
No.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Abstain.
Mr. Dar?
No.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is it is 11 to 3 to 1.
okay. The motion passes. Chair's not voting. Move to adopt specification 2 of charge 2. Needs a second.
Second.
Okay. When Mr. Malagon's ready.
This is charge 2, specification 2. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Mr. Redpath?
Abstain.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Abstain.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is it is 12 to 0 to 3. That's correct, I think. Yeah, 12 to 0 to 3.
All right, motion passes. Chair's not voting. Next, move to adopt specification 3 of charge 2. Needs a second.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Malagon, when you're ready.
Mr. Rutherford on charge 2, specification 3, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Mr. Redpath?
Abstain.
Mr. Hollis is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Abstain.
Ms. Hayes? I'm sorry, one more time.
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 12 to 0 to 3.
Okay, the motion passes. Chair's not voting. We have 2 more of these, I think, to get through. Next is the following resolution. Resolved that from the time official notification of this resolution is delivered to Ms. Karen
Point
Ann
of
Harlow.
order. Point of order. Charge 2 has to be adopted as a whole.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're correct. Thank you. Move to adopt charge 2 as a whole. Or move to adopt charge 2.
Second.
That is the language. Just move to adopt charge 2. And Mr. McGee seconded.
Okay. We'll start at the top again. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote on charge 2 as a whole?
Abstain.
Mr. Redpath?
Abstain.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Abstain.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is, I believe it's 12 to 0 to 3.
All right, the motion passes. Chair's not voting. Okay, now we're going to get to the resolution. I think there's 2 more, including this one. Resolved that from the time official notification of this resolution is delivered to Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's address until disposition of this case, all of Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's authority, rights, and duties pertaining to the office of secretary and of all Libertarian Party committees are suspended.
Point of order. Point of order. That is the wrong order. The resolution to appear comes first.
I believe Mr. McGee is correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGee.
All right. So
Resolved. This one right here.
Yes.
Charges and specifications. Okay, thank you, Mr. McGee. I'm going to move the following resolution. Resolve that Ms. Karen Ann Harlos is hereby cited to appear at said adjourned meeting for trial to show cause why she should not be removed from the office of secretary on the following charges and specifications.
Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Wait.
Yes.
We need a second.
Sorry.
Hold on.
I'll second that.
Who was that?
Seconded by Mr. McGee.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Apologies. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
I'll vote yes.
Ms. Farlos is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Yes.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is, I believe it's 15 to 0 to 1.
All right, the motion passes. Chair is not voting. Okay, now we're gonna get to the final one.
There's two more, actually.
Two more, you're right. And I see them right there. Okay, resolved that. Which one do you want me to do first, guys?
I'm sorry. Hold down.
You're the chair, you lead the meeting.
It has to be the first one. So that one that you're on right
Okay.
now. That one and then the last one.
Resolve that from the time official notification of this resolution is delivered to Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's address until disposition of this case, all of Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's authority, rights, and duties pertaining to the office of secretary and of all Libertarian Party committees are suspended. A quick note on that is suspension. It is not removal. It is not removal.
And this will require 2/3 of the voting in present.
Yep. Mr. Nikela?
Yes, thank you. I would like to see if I could amend this to exclude the Historical Preservation Committee from the list of committees that Ms. Harless will be suspended from because of her location in Colorado and her work on the committee. I do believe she's needed for that committee to function.
Second, if that was a motion, if that was a move to amend.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not objecting in the interest of time. Any objections? Okay, going once, going twice. Hearing none, the amendment is adopted and it'll become part of the main motion now. So now let me rephrase it. Resolve that from the time official notification of this resolution is delivered to Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's address until disposition of the case, all of Ms. Karen Ann Harlow's authorities, rights, and duties pertaining to the office of secretary and of all Libertarian Party committees except the Historical Preservation Committee are suspended.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Malagon, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Rutherford?
No.
Mr. Redpath?
No.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Pass.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
No.
Mr. Dar?
No.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
And we're back to Mr. Nikela.
I'll vote no.
Yeah.
So that is 10.
How's she gonna get in the garage without a key?
Sorry. Go ahead.
2, 3, 4, 5. 10 to 5 to 0 to 1.
I will vote yes. That makes it 2/3. The motion passes.
It's 11 to 5. Okay.
Mr. Nana?
Oh, sorry, I got bumped into mute. It's a point of inquiry. Does it require 2/3 of those voting or 2/3 of the committee?
It's 2/3 of those present and voting.
Thank you very much.
Now, our parliamentarian assists its majority. I was under the impression it was 2/3 of those voting and present.
Wait, for the temporary suspension, I believe that was 2/3, if I'm not mistaken.
I did too,
It
but
was a majority. It was a majority.
there we go. Okay, I was gonna say regardless, we made the threshold.
Apologies.
Okay, so let me jump to the last one because I know a lot of people are anxious to get off this call. Resolve that Mr. Jonathan McGee act as the manager for the Libertarian National Committee. This is regarding a trial. This is not a staff position. And it takes a second.
Second.
Okay. Pass it back to Mr. Malagon.
Madam Chair, Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr.
I'm
Redpath,
sorry, are we voting on Jonathan McGee here?
as the
Yes.
manager for the trial. correct?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Hollis is not here. Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Boss, we'll pass on Mr.
Yes.
Boss. Oh, all right.
Yes.
Mr. Michaela,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich,
Yes.
Mr. Heyman,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Abstain.
Mr. Nana,
Yes.
Mr. Dar,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Dassing,
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is it is 13-0-2.
Okay, the motion passes. All right, this,
Madam Chair, I have a quick question.
yes.
Is this report need to be voted to be released? Will it be released? Should it be released?
Let me think.
So, Madam Chair, I have two quick suggestions, if I may, and the parliamentarian can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mr. Malagon, and then if there's no objection, we'll hear from Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we don't have to do it now in the interest of time. I guess we could, but then I believe that we still do need to at least address the policy manual amendment to allow whoever you appoint to send the certification out for
Yep.
the. So that's the most pressing thing. We could do both of them, I suppose, right now if everyone is ready to go, and we've already had discussion on both. So it should be just two more quick votes, but if I'm wrong, the parliamentarian can jump in.
No, you can do both. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Good. You can do both of those. But you can also, you probably should take a vote on releasing the report or adopting the report. I think the bylaws basically require it.
That's
whether you're happy or not with that.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Jacobs, can we move to adopt the report without releasing it yet? Because I thought that
Yeah.
I thought that Ms. Harlow's got a chance to object to its release based off of its content.
So what so these are all really good questions. I'm going to suggest that we do a couple of things and then we can word the motion in the correct way, which is adopt the report and release it, pending discussion with the secretary and legal counsel.
That would work.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to move we adopt the investigative committee's report and release it pending discussion with our secretary and legal counsel.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Watkins. So
Let me write it down just so I have my language. Okay, go ahead whenever you're ready.
I assume that everyone understands what we're voting on. It's adoption pending adoption of the IC report, pending discussion with Ms. Harlos and legal counsel. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Pass.
Okay.
Mr. Redpath?
I'm sorry, clarification. What is the motion we're voting on?
I move that we adopt the report and release it pending discussion with our secretary and legal counsel. So what that means is we are not putting out the report that we just discussed in executive session until we notify Ms. Harlos and she has an opportunity to object, ask us to redact it, or say fire away.
Okay, I'll vote yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes, Mr. Redpath?
That was a yes.
Ms. Harlos is not here. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Commissioner Dar,
Yes.
Miss Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Dassing,
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I believe it's unanimous at this point. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rutherford.
Abstain.
So just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 14 to 0 to 1.
All right, thank you. The motion passes.
The chair will not vote on this motion.
Chair is not voting. Thank you. Just pulling up my agenda, which I briefly lost when my computer crashed earlier. Ballot Access Committee update, Mr. Nana. Do you want to
we-
give that? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Point of
I can
order,
give
I think we need to pass the policy manual amendment.
Yes, but the Ballot Access Committee update is technically next, so
Oh, my apologies.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm asking. Let me,
Yeah.
sorry, let me screen share this. Could you make it like a really short update?
Yes, I'm going to give a brief oral update. The Ballot Access Committee really doesn't have much work left other than to refine our best practices document. I had already asked, I believe I asked you how to access that report because I don't know where it is anymore since the switch from Google. And then you said the secretary had access, so I asked the secretary for access. So I don't know who has access now that she's temporarily suspended, I guess.
We will
So,
hunt it down.
yeah, if somebody can get that to me, we can finish that document. That's really all we have on the docket between now and the end of our term, unless something else comes up. But we have ballot access in every state other than Illinois, Tennessee, and New York. And those 3 states we are on as a write-in. So that's pretty much the update.
Got it. All right, thank you. Okay, so let's jump to policy manual amendments. I have, I think, one. Do I have both of them here? Oh, here we go. This is 1.014. Mr. McGee, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, this is to amend the policy manual to allow specific specifications for the process if a secretary is charged to deliver it to the secretary. Generally, it's the secretary's job to deliver charges or a report, and our policy manual is ambiguous about that. Furthermore, it's also to specifically specify in writing that the secretary is what sort of counsel. First of all, that counsel is, a right and will be followed, and second of all, to just specify that they do have to be members of the party, and that managers also have to as well. It's really fairly straightforward to make sure that due process is protected.
Got it. Does anybody have any questions about this?
I move to amend by adding the letter A before sustaining.
There's already.
Where is that?
Oh, no, he's correct. The second instance at the bottom. No, Mr. Redpath is correct.
Shall be, okay. Well, that's a scrivener's error, but thank you. I don't think we need to make an amendment, but it's noted that we'll update that. Any other catches?
Was that seconded?
It's not seconded yet. It needs a second.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
There you go. It's been moved and seconded. Any objections? Okay, hearing no objections, this policy manual amendment is adopted. Can you write that down for me, Adrian, since I'm screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
It was moved by McGee. It was seconded by, I think, Andrew Watkins and someone else.
And accepted without objection.
It was adopted without objection.
Okay, done.
Oh boy, here comes the fun one. Okay, who noticed this one?
I believe that was Mr. Heyman.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, that was me that noticed that. But I did so on behalf of Mr. Chatterton, so I'm going to let him speak to this.
Okay.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Assuming so. This motion is noticed as described at the beginning, to remove the public list for discussion, debate, and encourage substantive business, requiring debate to be done in meetings. As most people are aware, we had a board training at the in-person meeting in August. And in that meeting, one of the tenets of the training was specifically that business is not optimally conducted over email, particularly when requiring substantive debate. Email not being a forum that provides for good conduction of business, because you're not in real-time discussion. You cannot infer people's meaning and reading the room, etc. So the purpose for this motion, as described in the rationale at the bottom, is that it would discourage substantive motions from being done over email and encourage the use of meetings for that, regular, whether our monthly meetings or otherwise. So the substance of the motion is to make a couple of amendments. First of all, the subsection 4 under section 1.02 of meetings, entitled open emails, would be stricken. This section currently requires that any emails between all members of the board be made public. The additional changes are also part of section 102 in the current subsection, 7 electronic mail ballots. In that section, it describes that process for conducting meetings, and the second sentence of this says that the notification shall not include an accompanying argument for or against passage of the motion, though subsequent posting with votes may contain debate. The proposed change is to strike the second half of that sentence, though subsequent postings with votes may contain debate. To provide for opportunities where unforeseen circumstances might arise, or where the general need of the body does necessitate an email ballot, and there might be a case where a more substantive motion may occur on a case by case, there is provided for a new subsection in that same section for electronic mail ballots to be inserted as a new subsection 2, that electronic mail ballots shall be limited to voting only. This rule can be suspended at the request of a committee member, absent the objection of more than 1/3 of the committee being sent in reply to the request. Objections must be sent within 48 hours of the request for debate within the electronic mail ballot. If the 48 hours elapse without sufficient objection, then debate shall be allowed for that ballot. So that basically follows the normal practice of 2/3 required to suspend a rule. So therefore, if you have objections to the suspension by more than 1/3, that becomes therefore impossible. And that basically provides for the case that if this needs to go forward, then that option is available. Otherwise, if there is not objections, it will result in automatic approval.
All right, I see Mr. Nana's hand is up.
Yeah. So I agree with the rationale here and agree with the intended purpose somewhat. I would like to amend the motion.
Okay.
I would like to amend it as such. I would like to strike the words starting with strike and ending in subsections, which reads strike subsection 4 open emails and renumber following subsections.
All right,
And
hold
then
on.
this
You've
might be
got
this might be an amendment by substitution, but I'll let you rule on it. And then I would also like to add a new sentence in the new text portion after the first sentence that reads, a separate debate thread shall be created for all email ballots.
Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna make you start over so I can edit this thing in real time because I don't have the Word doc.
You let me know when you're ready. That's not a problem.
Strike through text just disappeared, of course. Okay, where am I striking?
So right there where your little cursor is, that whole sentence.
Strike where it says strike subsection 4 or start with open emails?
Strike that whole bullet point.
Okay.
Fancy.
Okay.
And then add an additional sentence in the new text portion that's in blue down there.
Okay.
And a subsequent, and it'll let me know when you're ready.
Dang it. All right, ready.
A subsequent debate thread shall be started for all email ballots.
Oh, that's too big.
Or electronic mail, I guess it should be.
A subsequent debate thread
Shall be started.
Okay. Okay.
For all electronic mail ballots. And then I would like to speak to my amendment.
All right, go right ahead.
So I'm trying to kind of cut the middle here because, as mentioned, I do agree that we talk too much on the list about non-substantive things. We get bogged down in arguing with each other. The public doesn't really need to see that. I wish people could just show restraint and not do it, but apparently they can't. So I also think that if we choose to have discussion, it should be open to the public. And if we want to have discussion that's not open to the public, we can always text each other, call each other, whatever. I hope that we do that. And then my rationale for the second part is that I actually agree that the email ballots should not be cluttered with debate. It makes it hard to keep track of voting or where people stand or anything else, and takes away from the voting, experience, I guess, from the rest of us. So having a separate debate thread, and perhaps separate instead of subsequent should be the word, but whatever. We'll make it so that if you want to have debate on an email ballot, that's cool. You can do that, but it won't clutter up the voting. So, if I'm undecided on an issue, I can go to the debate thread. Maybe I'll be swayed. Maybe I won't. Maybe I want to put my 2 cents in, but I don't have to do so on the ballot where people are trying to figure out how somebody is voting. And it'll also make it easier for the public to keep track of votes, because they can just simply look at one thread and say, okay, my rep voted this way, or my rep has yet to vote. Maybe I should talk to them, so on and so forth. And I think I adequately described my position, so that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nana. I think we should probably hear from, Mr. Maligon has his hand up, and then I'm just going to call Mr. Chatterton.
I just have a quick question for Mr. Nana, if it's all right, Madam Chair. Is this amendment so would the debate be public? Is that what I'm understanding?
Debate would be public in a separate thread from the voting thread, correct?
Okay, that's my clarification. Thank you.
It's better than what we have now. Mr. Chatterton?
I wanted to ask, I guess, first of all, if the amendment was seconded.
It was not, and I was going to point that out.
Second it.
I'll second.
So if still recognized, I would like to speak against the amendment.
Yes. Real quick, Mr. Maligon, can you write for me that it was the amendment
Is that right?
moved by Nana and seconded by Paul Dar?
Oh,
and
darn.
then Mr. Chatterton, sorry, jump back in.
All right, thank you. So I appreciate the feedback on that, and I do hear the concerns with that. I do believe that particularly the consideration to make it a general always the case that it's still the public discussion on that, I believe undermines the core effort of the motion to encourage that we do such business in meetings. My hope is that in case we have substantive motions like this that do require the vote, the burden would be on us to hold that in a meeting and move forward and discuss that business at length as necessary. And that would still maintain the full transparency to the membership, and it would encourage more constructive and productive debate of these ideas. As a potential counter proposal, I don't intend to make the motion, but I offer it for consideration. I believe that it would be more in line with fulfilling both that concern as well as the concern raised by Mr. Nana about cluttering up voting threads. I think the amendment to the new subsection at the bottom could still be taken that if voting is approved in those cases, that the debating be done in a separate debate thread while still maintaining the case that we are discouraging that from being the norm by striking the open email portion and proceeding with it that way. But I don't offer any amendment to that, just speaking on the point.
Thank you. Mr. Nana?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the friendly debate. I think that, like I said, what I would like to see is us just be adults. Apparently, it's not possible. So I don't think that because we can't act like adults, we should put in the policy manual that the public can't see what we're talking about. I guess to quote, I think the chair, and if I'm misquoting her, I'm sorry, sort yourselves out. This should not be necessary. And the fact that we think it is quite telling.
No comment. Mr. Dar?
I would just like to add that this is essentially how LP Texas with our executive committee, we handle the same matter as far as the amendment there. We have while we use a form, our actual vote goes on in one thread on the form and all debate happens on another thread. And I find that to be quite a more effective way to do it. And it doesn't stop debate completely for those who still want to have the ability to make motions and have debate. And for the most part, we keep it professional. Yes, there are sometimes that it doesn't always end that way, but the chair is able to rein people in. So that is just my thoughts in favor of the motion that for the most part, we should be able to handle that in this new format.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on the amendment? Okay. The threshold to pass this is 2/3 of those present and voting or a majority of entire LNC.
Am I going to proceed, Madam Chair?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
All right. Everyone understands what we're voting on. This is the policy manual amendment the amendment to the main motion made by Mr. Nana, seconded by Mr. Dar. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Well, I was going to make a point of, I guess, parliamentary inquiry. I believe the amendment, feel free to correct me, would be simple majority. Then the main motion, if we fell back, regardless of what it was, would be the threshold you mentioned.
Fair enough. Your point.
I'm sorry. I thought that's what I heard the chair say, but
point is well taken. It's a majority to adopt the amendment.
okay. Apologies. Mr. Rutherford, that was a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
Yes.
Ms. Harless is not here. Mr. Watkins?
No.
Mr. Bost?
Yes.
Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
No.
Ms. Yanuskavich is not here anymore. Excuse me, sorry. Mr. Heyman?
I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Garcia had to step out, so Mr. Chatterton is now seated. Mr. Chatterton?
I'll vote no on the amendment.
Mr. McGee?
Pass.
Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Dar?
Yes.
Ms. Hayes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. Pass, please.
Mr. Dassing?
No.
Mr. Ford?
Abstain.
So right now we are going back to Mr. McGee.
No.
Ms. Hayes?
No.
I don't believe this passes, but it's at 6 to. Right, 1, 2, 3,
Did Mr. Ford vote?
5. Yes, he abstained.
Ah.
5, 6. So it's 6 to 1. So the motion. Oh, I guess it. Let me just
Chair,
double check.
the chair would either need to vote or not vote, I would assume.
6. So that's 6 ayes. Let me go with nays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So it's 6 to 1 at the moment, Madam Chair. You would be the deciding vote.
A tie is a failure, correct?
Yeah, tie is a
Yeah,
failure.
so if the chair does not vote, the motion would fail. If the chair votes in favor, it would pass. If the chair votes against, it would fail.
I think I am going to vote against so that I can move to reconsider later.
Okay.
I'm going to vote against it.
So the motion fails 6 to 7 to 1 to 0. And now we're at the main motion, Madam Chair. And I believe Mr. Nikela has his hand up.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment for a subsequent debate thread shall be started for all electronic mail ballots at the beginning of the additional text.
Well,
wouldn't that
we're
be?
back to the main. Well, I'm not chairing this meeting. I'm sorry.
Guys, okay, hold on.
I think that would be kind of a compromise, and at least if we do have a debate, we can still get a separate ballot.
All right, so where we're at now is the amendment failed. I had the deciding vote, but explained why. And I'm sure Mr. Nana can suss out what I'm doing there. We're on to the main motion, and that would basically be, see if I can Control Z my way out of here. This part would not be, the subsection 4 part would not be stricken, and this new text would not have been added down here. Did you guys want to debate the main motion? Okay, then we can just go to a vote.
Okay. 1 second.
Can I say something quick?
Yes.
Mr. Oh.
I very much appreciate what Mr. Nana was trying to do. I voted no just because the list is such a dumpster fire. I'm taking to heart what we learned in our training in Miami, that we really should try to do serious business at meetings rather than over email, where so much of what human communication is just lost since it's just text. And that's the only reason I voted it down and why I'm going to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say really quickly that I do appreciate Mr. Nana's amendment, what he was trying to do. It kind of defeats the purpose to do have the same dumpster fire, but in a different thread. But I appreciate the rationale behind it. Madam Chair, may I proceed with the vote?
Yes, please.
Just
so this
point of order. Could you please read the? I apologize. Could you just read the amendment? I'm not sorry, not the amendment. The actual proposal.
Oh man, it's so long. It's on the screen.
It's on the screen.
At 70 miles an hour on a Samsung S24.
Okay, hold on. Mr. Chatterton?
Yes.
can you speak to the changes in your motion again, and then we're gonna
Yes,
go
I
to.
can summarize it quickly. So, the first change would be to strike the current section, subsection 4 of 102 meetings for open emails. That would abolish the requirement to publicly publish all emails between all members of the LNC. We would additionally amend subsection 7 for electronic email ballots to remove the text, those subsequent postings with votes may contain debate, and create the new subsection that the electronic mail ballots shall be limited to voting only. This rule can be suspended at the request of a committee member, absent the objection of more than 1/3 of the committee being sent in reply to the request. Objections must be sent within 48 hours of the request for debate within the electronic mail ballot. If the 48 hours elapse without sufficient objections, then the debate shall be allowed for that ballot.
Mr. Ford, do you know how subsection 4 open emails reads? Since you're unable to look right now, because I had to open a separate screen because that part's actually not on the screen.
I have that text available or if you also do.
Mr. Ford, did you pull that up while you're driving and drinking Panera Bread coffee and eating with the other hand?
Absolutely. I mean, I multitask all the time. I was taking a nap until this came up, but just kidding.
Shall I read the subsection
Okay.
4 text?
Okay, guys. Mr. Ford, do you want Mr. Chatterton to read a little bit more?
Yes, please.
Okay, go right ahead, Mr. Chatterton.
So subsection 4 that would be stricken is that it's titled open emails. Email discussion involving the entire LNC shall take place on a publicly accessible read-only email list with the exception of items that qualify for executive session. Those discussions shall take place on a separate email list specially designed for that purpose. An announcement of each new discussion of the executive session shall be made on the public list by the secretary, including the justification for having the discussion in executive session. The beginning and end dates of those discussions will be noted in the secretary's report to the LNC. That section would be stricken with this change.
All right. Does everybody understand what we're voting on now?
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, Mr. Malgun, when you're ready, we will proceed to a roll call vote. This time it is 2/3 or two-thirds of those who are present in voting, or a majority of the entire LNC.
I believe it's 2/3 of those present in voting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Mr. Rutherford, how do you vote on the main motion?
Pass.
Mr. Redpath?
No.
Mr. Watkins? Pass. I will pass
Hello?
on Mr. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, my mic messed up. Yes.
Mr. Bost? We will pass on Mr. Bost for now.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Mr. Nikela?
Yes.
Mr. Vinson?
Yes.
Ms. Siniscavage is not here. Mr. Heyman?
I vote yes.
Mr. Chatterton?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Nana?
No.
Mr. Dar?
No.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Dassing?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
I believe it is 10 to 3. Oh, I'm sorry,
I
Mr.
have passed.
Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford.
I'm voting no.
Okay. So it is 10 to 4. Madam Chair, I believe the motion passes either way. Would you care to vote?
No, the motion passes and I am not voting.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So it's 10 to 4 to 0 to 1.
All right. Motion passes. We need to work on a policy manual. Let's give Mr. Malagon a break, because he just did a whole bunch of reports. I need a policy manual volunteer. Mr. Nana?
I don't know that I'm volunteering, but the committee, just for edification of everybody here, the committee suggested simply reinserting the language that we had before. So this might not, I mean, we can always appoint a committee, but that was our kind of sort of recommendation, at least to start. And then maybe if we needed to change it a little bit, but reinserting the previous language is kind of where I'm at.
For edits to the policy manual, updating it?
Yeah, in terms of cause for removal. Now, I don't know if you're talking about a whole project for the whole manual.
No, there were just some additional changes, like right now.
Oh,
You showed
well,
your hand.
never mind.
You're talking about something
It's
else.
okay. It's okay. We'll sort it out later. No big deal. All right. What is left on the agenda? Okay, so
There's one more false alarm, I believe, on the made by Mr. McGee.
Is there another policy manual proposal?
I believe it was the one on streaming.
Mr. Keith Thompson has his hand up. Mr. Thompson? Okay. Mr. McGee, is there another policy manual amendment? And if not, we can do it in an email motion. I don't hear Mr. McGee.
I actually don't see it listed
Okay.
on the agenda.
Okay. If you need to move it, then you can, I think, do it on the list.
All right.
And approval of August minutes is on here, and I was not inclined to approve them as they were. Do we want to have a big fight over that right now?
I mean, the only objection, Madam Chair, that I had to them was the hyperbole. I mean, starting from the creation of the IC. I think the LNC has seen. I'm not going to make the motion. I can't, but I would say that the meeting minutes. I reviewed the recording twice, so everything. The only thing I would move to adopt would be whatever the latest version the secretary sent out previously, just removing everything from the formation of the committee and replacing it with the minutes that are in the IC report, and just kind of swapping those out. I don't think it needs to be a whole big thing, but it's up to the LNC to decide.
Can we do it later?
Yeah, there's no rush on my part.
Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts on minutes? Been going for almost, a lot of hours.
So I'm sorry,
Okay.
so what's the action on the minutes, if any?
None.
Thank you.
None right
Kick the
now.
can down the road.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, if that's it, then there's only one thing left to do.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Redpath. Seconded by, who was that? Mr. McGee or Mr. Vincent?
Mr. McGee.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Malagon, can you take a note of that real quick?
Yes, I'm doing that now. And if Madam Chair would be so kind to send me the recording just so I can double check.
Yep, I will do that. All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Any objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 10:16 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everyone. We will get notice out for the November meeting. I intend to cancel the special meeting that we had set in November and set a different date for a budget meeting, but I'm going to work with Ms. Yanuskavich and our treasurer and assistant treasurer on that. Have a good night.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good night, everyone.
Good night.